one of the challenges that we mentioned is that, at least in the digital humanities category, we are exploring very important contemporary topics that need to be addressed today, and it needs to be today. So the fact that we were exposed with all these various societal challenges makes it really hard to look at one particular direction, and we had to make sure that, yes, the projects we were selecting made sense to be highlighted today, those problematics, those topics. At the same time, this couldn't just be the only way of selecting a project. There were so many projects around awareness. We're talking about genocide, we're talking about memories that otherwise could be disappearing, we're talking about massacres, we're talking about wars, we're talking about displacement. So how does one choose when a project is really good and interesting and urgent? That, I think, was a very big challenge.
Yeah, and it's also the statement of what is humanity, and that's what we were faced with, because you have a really good project and you're like, oh, how does this make a statement on what humanity is? And ultimately it was a decision on what represents digital humanity in 2026, and that was not easy. And also that we were coming from different expertise and different backgrounds, so meeting together was also coming to a place where you respect the opinions of the fellow juries and have that conversation, because ultimately what we think humanity is can be different from others. But also the most important thing was not getting blown away by the technology and remembering that it's people before tech. And that was something we had to remind ourselves over the days. And I think we were able to ultimately, that it was challenging.
We did develop our own set of criteria. So essentially the way that this worked, or at least the way that I lived it, was I was given a set of 40 projects 2 weeks before coming here. And of course, I'm a practitioner in the world of arts and creativity, and I've got my own selection criteria, and every member of the jury did the same, right? So we each were coming here with our own very shy kind of curatorial and criterial perspectives. And from day one, we kind of started mapping what those were in order to articulate a larger discourse of what digital humanities would mean. I feel like we matched and we puzzled this together pretty well. But one big question that I feel was particularly relevant to our category, digital humanities, was the impact, or what the people were going to, or like the people who were awarded were going to do with the prize money. That part was very relevant to us. So we were looking into intercultural exchange, we were looking into feeding back into the communities, we were looking into regenerative practices.
And I think our process, really being the digital humanity category, was having care in the process, and that made it much more difficult, because you could have a really expansive project on one hand, and you could have maybe a really good concept, but it's not well developed, maybe due to funding. So in our criteria, we wanted to make sure that every single project got the time and the care it needed, which made the process much longer. But with the jury all coming from different backgrounds, I think we came to a consensus on the final group that we chose in terms of how do they directly return this art to their communities. So it's not just technology for technology's sake. So even if an art or a submission was really beautiful and well executed, at the end of the day, we wanted to make sure that the community would then, there'll be a ripple effect in the community. And also we wanted to make sure that it spoke a clear statement about what it means to be human in the digital age. And that also goes into the process of the way it's made, the technology it uses. And I think we also met a very interesting perspective of, if a project is funded by a harmful organization, or something that we perceive will then further degrade the planet or community.
They're already marginalized.
Yeah, that are already marginalized. How do we ensure that there is no extraction in the process of the artwork being made? Because that's something that people also forget, because this art is not just going to live for itself, but it also has to return and have a ripple effect to the community.
We did notice some trends, and actually part of our methodology that we followed as a jury panel was kind of tagging and classifying the different projects, so that we started seeing some patterns emerging, and that was very important into our process of decision making.
Yeah, I agree. So we were looking at basically power structures, because they showed up in different ways, from planetary ways of ecological justice to community organizing, artificial intelligence, and also who we are as people, our bodies. I thought that was really intriguing.
All the projects were very different in nature, I would say. So we were considering from books to more embodied experiences to methodological and performances that were contributing and doing amazing work with very different communities. And also one of the categories, or I don't know if you think the same, but there were very strong lines of work that have to do with collaboration, collaboration with communities, and another very strong line of work that was literacy in technology. So how do we use artistic projects to explain things about tech that are normally invisible or are normally not deemed important or don't exist in day-to-day conversations?
Yeah, and I think it was really telling the story of our time, telling the story of 2026. We're seeing conflict, we're seeing ecological damage, we're also seeing how AI is erasing entire people through the perfection of the algorithm, and also on the other side, how the people who are training the same algorithms are being made invisible, so the invisibilization of people. And I think that was really what stood strongly in that process.
In that sense, also, I feel like we had projects that were very obviously digital in their nature. We could see screens, we could see interventions that used very innovative technologies, which we try to highlight and to represent in our selection. But also there were other types of projects that were about digitality, so not necessarily using technology, but reflecting, using very social communal practice on technology, the powers that it operates behind. And that was important also to note the fact that just because it is not using technology, it doesn't mean that it cannot be about technology. I want to explain what I felt when I first saw the project that we awarded with the Golden Nika. It looks very simple because it looks like what could have been yet another website archive. But then you see that it is a museum that would not exist otherwise in the physical space. So the fact that this archive exists means that the possibility of a storytelling that is extremely important can be preserved and can become a tool not only for researchers, but also for the community to revise and learn from. The way they do it is beautiful. They do it through collaboration, very situated knowledges, indigenous knowledges, and I kind of went from a process of suspicion, this is too easy, to thinking about this project as a big form of inspiration, precisely because it is that simple.
Yeah, and the winning prize, the Women History Museum Zambia, really is a testament of our time because it looks at reparations. How do we address reparations? How do we retrieve our memories that were stolen and sent abroad? How do we reclaim our histories? And how do we ensure that it's built on a platform that is decentralized and open? So the fact that the museum uses Web3 as a technology for us was a testament to saying that this belongs to us, and all the archives can be reclaimed to our communities, and at the same time seeing that it's a collaboration, an international collaboration, shows that there are ways that we can work together that are not extractive, and ways of showing indigenous knowledge in ways that retain the dignity, the human dignity of those pieces, of the creators, and how we preserve our knowledge and culture.